Hey guys, today I am going to be talking about the pros and cons of condo living versus single family home living here in Florida. Now, Scott presented this as a question the other day. Hey, how affordable is it to live in either style home? So we're going to run through a couple things. Right behind me, you see the Cape Harbor Towers. Those are some of the more exclusive and more expensive condos in our area. And we also have right behind us here some of the villa style townhomes. So we do have a number of different styles, but in this community there's also single family homes, and you'll have a number of different options. If you're going to be looking in this area of Cape Coral, this is the southwest section, the most popular section, but there's only a few places that offer condos in the area as communities. You can get them as standalone buildings, but we're going to be discussing a lot of the things that come with that, a lot of the expenses that you might be thinking it gets too costly, and we're going to compare it to some single family homes right after. We're getting after that next. Hey everybody, just wanted to thank you for showing up once again. As you know, I do these videos to give you more information about moving to the Southwest Florida area. My name is Craig Cunha. I'm a real estate agent here. If you need some help going through any of these things that we're going to discuss, or have any other questions, go ahead, watch some more of the videos on the channel, subscribe to make sure you see them all, and if nothing else, you can call, text, or email, and I'll be happy to get back to you and answer any of those questions. Anyway, let's get on with this thing. Okay, so one of the first things you have to ask yourself is, where do I want to live? Because the living arrangements could be one of your big reasons as to where you're going to locate yourself. Single family homes, you can do that out in the country. You can do the rural setting with a single family home. You're really not going to be doing that with condos. Are there some communities that are set a little further out? Yes, but they're not going to be as desirable, because one of the reasons why you buy a condo is to be close to things. Walkability is one of the big ones a lot of people ask about. And down here at Cape Harbor, there are actually shops and restaurants and things like that right in the community. So you can literally walk out your front door. That's another thing that we're going to be discussing too. With condos and townhomes, the multifamily kind of setups, you can lock your door and walk away. It's a very secure setup. Most of the times you're not going to have any issues, and you have plenty of neighbors around to watch your property. So if privacy and security are two of your concerns, security will be a benefit. Privacy, you're sharing walls, you're sharing a building. So it's not going to be as private as a single family home. And one of the other big perks about a single family home is the space. I mentioned location, where you can get out in the country, you can be close to town, whatever you want. But with that, you have privacy. Those are your four walls, or 6 walls, 8 walls, 10 walls, how many walls you have. But the point is that that's your ultimate privacy. You're not going to have to share that space with anybody, and you can do whatever you want to the property. That's another thing you can't do with a condo. Condos will have rules. You're not going to be able to make changes as easily, and there are going to be architectural review committees, so that you would have to pass any changes by them. You're obviously not going to pick the colors on your home. That's picked by the community. Same thing with the standalone buildings. I'll show you some of the standalone buildings that we have here, but again, they're governed by rules. So that's another thing to consider. HOAs are always on condos, townhomes, anything like that. The only time you're going to find it on single family homes is if it's in a community. Most of our communities are gated. Cape Coral does not have a lot of communities. Fort Myers is abundant with communities. So if you're looking for a community setup, whether it's single family or condo, you're going to want to do that in Fort Myers in most cases. Anyway, a couple of the other things that we need to take into consideration. You know, Scott's question was about affordability. Well, median pricing right now on a condo is right in the 400s, maybe high 300s. This community, Cape Harbor, you don't even get started until the 500s to get into these places. So you do have to take that into consideration. Fees can vary greatly. The reason behind it is amenities. Many communities have wonderful amenities, and that would be your pool, that would be a clubhouse, a fitness center, those types of things. Maybe parks, dog parks. There are some communities here that have those, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute, the restrictions, because pets are going to be one of them. Anyway, cost-wise, most condos, you can get away with fees that'll start in the 300s, and they'll work their way up to as much as $1,000 or $1,200 a month. Those are for some of the more exclusive condominiums in the area, whether you're on the river, whether you're in this place here, there are a lot of extra services, a lot of extra expenses. There might even be a CDD, Community Development District. That's a way that the builder can recoup the money that they spent on the front end of the building of the community for the infrastructure. That is usually going to run for about 20 years, and it's going to be roughly $100 a month throughout each of the years that you're going to be paying it. But CDDs are not in every community, so don't get too worried about that. We'll take it case by case. And if you do need help with any of this stuff, including builders, we have a lot of builders right now that are putting up homes everywhere in this area. And one of the things you want to do when you go to these builders is make sure you take representation, because you need somebody fighting for you. The number of stories I've heard lately with the delays in building, the complaints, can't get anybody on the phone to talk about it. Yeah, because nobody wants to take responsibility for it. But we have a lot of delays right now, so having somebody in your corner to fight on your behalf, and it's free. I haven't told you this in many of the other videos, but having representation from a real estate agent is free to the buyer. You're not paying anything. So why would you not get somebody to represent you and help you through these situations? Anyway, let's get back onto the single family versus condos. All right, so we talked about the HOA fees. And again, median prices, 400s for condos, 500s for single family homes. The single family homes in this place, now you're not even starting into those probably until you get into the 800s. It is very expensive down here compared to the rest of the area, because Cape Coral as a whole, if you want a single family home, they start in the 300s. Now that's very low 300s as well, but it's 1,200 square feet. So put that into your considerations for condo versus single family as well, because size. Condos, most condos, you might be looking in the 800, 900 square feet. Sometimes you're going to get over 1,000, and in some very good cases, you can be over 2,000 square feet on a condo. Mind you, it's going to cost you. But single family homes, you're going to find that the average around here, you're going to be somewhere in the 1,400 to 1,800 square feet. So you can get more square footage. There's many more homes over 2,000 than there are condos. So if you need more space, and if you need a garage, garages are not something that come just standardly with condos. Sometimes you can get away with it, like these townhomes that I showed you. But those condos back there, they have a garage. So their garage, yes, you store your car, there was nowhere to lock things up. So put that into your considerations as well. Big buildings like this will also have elevators in it. So if you ever have a problem, if power goes out, if there's any maintenance issues with that elevator, guess who's using the steps? Keep those things in mind, because many people don't think about those things in advance. One of the other things that I haven't mentioned yet is utility costs. So utilities here they're not going to vary greatly between a condo and a single family home, but I tell you where it will make a difference. The square footage of your property is going to make it either a little more expensive or a little less expensive to cool the space, right? When it's as hot as it's been lately, my utilities, my electric has gone up approximately 30% just here in this summer. It's been that hot. I have a friend that she's got a property that is over 3,000 square feet, and her utility bill is $450 a month. Now, put into context that she also has a pool and a spa, and that obviously takes a lot of electricity to run that. So you want to put into your cost basis when you're considering either style property. You want to put it in about the utilities. Water usage is really going to be no different. Depends on how you're going to, or how much laundry you're going to do, how many showers you take, how long your showers are, that kind of stuff. That really won't change. Services like internet and cable and stuff like that, obviously that doesn't change either. So your big one is just going to be electric and how that one will affect you. Even if you have a single family home here, expenses like lawn maintenance, that's part of your HOA already, right? So that 300 to 1,000, whatever it is, that's in your HOA fees already. So if you really think about the breakdown of an HOA versus a single family home that doesn't have one, your expenses are going to be pretty much the same across the board. You're still going to need lawn maintenance. You're still going to need internet and cable, and you're still going to, maybe not cable, because a lot of people stream nowadays, you're still going to need water and sewer, which those charges aren't going to change. Many times they're in the HOA as well, so that can be helpful. But utilities overall, there's not going to be a big cost savings either way. The big one's just going to be, again, the square footage, and not having a pool attached to your property. That cuts out a lot of the expense of your electric for a condo. Now, HOAs and rules. There's going to be rules such as how many times I can rent out my property in the course of a year. Can I have pets? If there's pets allowed, there's going to be limits. Normally 25 pounds, normally 2 animals, if they're allowing them at all. You're going to have many restrictions regarding how you're going to keep your property. Thankfully, in places with condos, all the maintenance on the exterior is done by the community. Those fees that you're paying, that counts for the roof, that counts for the exterior walls. You're going to pay for things or take care of things such as windows, lanai screening, AC unit, air handler, all that kind of stuff. That would fall on you as the owner. But insurances, in those fees, the exterior of the building is covered by the HOA. So you're not going to have to be so concerned about finding affordable insurance. It's already in your HOAs. And because there's numerous people doing it with you, there's usually a little bit of a discount because it's kind of a group rate. But you might want to consider getting interior insurance. In many cases, you're expected to get it so that you're covering from the walls in. And that means plumbing, electrical, all that kind of stuff you need to cover. Same thing with any of your appliances and any other issues that could happen within the unit. That's a separate insurance completely. Anyway, that's the most part of your fees. Taxes around here are going to go off the value of the property. So if you have 2 properties that are both $400,000, it doesn't matter whether it's a condo or a single family home, they're going to be taxed the same. So keep those kinds of things in mind as far as expense. Now, some of the other things that we don't even take into consideration is with condos. If you're looking to get a loan, there are a lot of hoops that you have to jump through. Your lender's going to need to be able to get the budget and check the reserves and see what the vacancy rates are in there as far as are they investor owned or are they privately owned. There has to be a certain percentage of primary homeowners in there to give the loan. There's a lot of detail to that. I'll defer that to my lender. If you need a good lender, please reach out to me. I've got one of the best in the area and he is great at what he does. So if you're an investor as well, he does investment properties. So just give him a chance to give you the information you need, because this part of it, when you're talking about condos and the rules, it can get kind of dicey sometimes. You want somebody to walk you through that. Now, one of the other things about single family versus condos is your outdoor living space. You're going to get much more outdoor living space with a single family home. You're going to have pool areas, you're going to have decks, you're going to have a backyard. You're going to have many opportunities to spend your time outdoors in a completely different way than a condo. Now, many condos will have a pool and deck area that you can sit out. If you happen to be on the water, they usually have a dock, and there could be even a tiki hut on top of that if it's one of the golf access condos. Anyway, outdoor space at a premium for single family home. So keep that in mind. If that's one of your big things, you might want to consider just looking at the home instead of a condo. A consideration for any property obviously is the age of the property, because the older something gets, the more maintenance that is necessary. And with condos, it's a little tougher. They started looking at some of the rules regarding ages of properties since that tragedy over on the East Coast with that condo building. So it's one of those things that you don't have much say in that, and if you have an issue within the building, they can literally shut the building down and make everybody leave. So it is one of those things that you do have to take into consideration. If it's an older building, if it's multi-stories like the one behind us here, those kinds of things are going to be even more important to make sure they're doing all their safety checks and being sure that they inspect it well and often to be sure to catch any deficiencies in the construction. When it comes down to it, condo versus single family home, Florida's not entirely different than any other area of the country. The things that I've spoken about regarding what you're going to be looking for a unit, they're going to be very, very similar. Some of the things that we do have here that you want to consider on top of all this is exposure of the unit. When we say exposure, it's usually the rear of the unit, because that's where people spend their time, like their pools and stuff. Rear exposure is important in Florida because the sun and how it hits your home, how many windows are going to be affected. So if you don't have dual pane windows or impact windows, hurricane impact windows, then you're not going to have great insulation. The heat can come through rather easily. And if you have western exposure to the back of the home with some of those big sliding glass doors that we have, you could find yourself heating up your property very quickly. Lately, it's been in the mid to high 90s, and they say the heat index is at 110 for today. We've had heat advisories for the last two or 3 weeks, which I know know much of the country's dealt with this, but Florida's a whole nother animal. It truly does get very hot here. The humidity is what makes it feel a little bit more harsh, but if you haven't noticed yet, you can see the trees moving in the background, right? So we are still coastal here. We're right by the coast, so we are able to get a lot of these breezes. It does make living in this temperature a lot easier, but it's something you have to consider, the exposure of the home and how it's going to affect not only the cooling, but your outdoor space and how you're gonna be able to use it. When it gets really, really hot on a pool deck, you know, the pool's there, sure, but you're not completely submerged, right? So that heat, you're still gonna feel it, and it's just something that you wanna consider if you're considering a pool home or condo. All right, so that's a little bit more about the pros and cons of a condo versus a single family home here in Southwest Florida. If you've got other questions about living in the area, check out one of these other videos. And if you've got a specific question that you need an answer to, you've got to call, text, or email, because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast.